Moving on, we have the Dragons in the Details, where today Constance will be going over small details you may have missed in the episode, as well as the fantastic costumes, props, and sets used. After you, Constance.
Great. So let's see if I could share my screen successfully without flashing everyone my desktop. Doctor Who. No, nothing big there. So let's see here.
Is it Matt Smith, Doctor Who? Because that's acceptable.
It is not Matt Smith. It is the original Doctor Who. Old school.
Oh, cool.
All right. So let's take a look here at what we've got. So this is for our first little example is Raniera in the Godswood when Alicent comes to visit her. She's reading the same book that she was reading in episode 1. It's the book about Nymeria and the 1,000 ships sailing to Dorne. You can see that there's on the cover the sun with the ship inside of it. And she's also listening to the bard sing about Nymeria and the 1,000 ships. So this is like the equivalent of reading your book while listening to the audiobook at the same time. So she's doing that when Alicent, you can see there's Alicent there, comes to say, "You're coming with us to the hunt." And she's like, "No, I don't want to go." The second shot we have here is the war table with the Valyrian forces represented by the dolphins here on the right and a couple of their ships. And then the crabsmen are represented by pincers. And the jawbones of some animals are representing Sea Smoke and Caraxes, the two dragons that they have, Leonor and Daemon's dragons, both. I think it's kind of cool that they use the crab pincers to be the crabsmen.
It's almost a bit too on point.
It's like we've seen examples of these tables before in other shots, where they have like the painted table with all the different forces. And there's one in the original series that has the Starks and the Lannisters and all the different things represented by really ornately carved little war figures. And here we have a couple of rough wooden boats and a bunch of crab pincers.
I guess they left all their stuff at home, I guess.
Or they've been here for 3 years. They're, as they say, they're like their forces are decimated. They're low on rations. They're going to lose. So it's not too surprising that they're using makeshift crap in order to try to pull off a war council. Now, there's this little thingy here on the side that I don't know what it is, but we'll take a closer look at that later. It looks like some kind of sea mine or something. I'm not sure. But our next shot here is the Kingswood. And you can see there's the Red Keep in the background, so you can kind of have an idea of how far away they are. Now, the Kingswood is a private hunting area reserved exclusively for the king and those that he wants to go hunting with him in the Kingswood. There's some small folk villages in the Kingswood, but they're under certain laws and restrictions on what they can and can't do with the animals and the plants. This is actually based on ancient medieval law in England and France mostly, where it was designed to protect the venison and the ver, the noble animals of the chase, such as red and fallow deer, roe deer, and wild boar, and all the plants that they sustain them. These were hunting areas designated by the monarch or the aristocracy, and it was actually introduced in England by the Normans against the French and the English as far back as the 11th century. This was practiced a lot in the 12th and 13th centuries, and fully 1/3 of the land area of southern England was designated as a royal forest. Now, being invited to one of these hunts was a very prestigious gesture. It showed the king wanted your company, he trusted you, he liked you. They trusted you to be armed with a bow in his presence, and that you were worthy enough to take the animals from the forest. As you can see here, and as we saw in the episode, it's a big frickin' party. There are servants, there are cooks, there are grooms, there are huntsmen. There's a whole big retinue of servants that comes along with this, in addition to all the lords, their servants, their guards, their families. I mean, it was a big thing to be a part of a royal hunt. Now, we saw that when Robert Baratheon had a royal hunt, the one where he's gored by the boar and ends up eventually dying in Game of Thrones, it was a small affair compared to this. Not only was the budget smaller then, but there was a representation of this is the pomp and the circumstance of the Targaryen dynasty. What do you think about this, Sam? What's your take on the royal hunt party?
I think it's it's pretty blown up. I mean, like, I think I wasn't, whenever like they did the previews for like this episode and the last one, I had like no idea. I thought it was just like a little party. I had no idea that it was going to be like that it was just for the hunt. Like, I knew there was a hunt, but I didn't realize they were like, yeah, we're going to throw down for like 3 days just to hunt some deer. Like, I think that it was really cool. I didn't know the fact about that there are small towns in the Kingswood. I had no idea that was the thing. So that's like a really interesting fact, and that they're like kind of limited to what they can do in there too. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So the Kingswood was mostly reserved for the king and his buddies to go hunting in, and as you can see, they tracked down and caught the most noble beast in the whole forest and saved it so that the king could kill it.
Yeah, how very country club of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like here's the prize buck. It's not the one we wanted. It's not the white hart, and we'll discuss the white hart when we get to the Fire and Blood segment. But here's the most elaborate, most fanciful beast. We want you to have the honor of killing it.
Yeah. Say what you want about Robert Baratheon, he was at least out there actually hunting it.
Oh yeah, he at least did. So. He did his own work. He wasn't one for the pomp and circumstance. He was there for the party.
Yeah.
But he wasn't there for all the ceremony.
No. Bobby B wanted to go and hunt some deer.
Yeah, he was a party boy. All right, so let's talk about the coffee cup in the room. To put a turn of phrase.
No.
Yeah, they had a little CGI error here. When he's handing the letter over to be delivered to his brother, you could see that he's got green finger sleeves on, or little green socks on his fingers. Because they're supposed to go in and CGI those out. Oops.
Just a little mistake.
Little mistake. But here's the interesting thing. Okay, so when we saw him 3 years ago, he was having the pinky finger eaten away by maggots. I mean, how could we forget that, right? That was pretty gross. But now he's also lost his second finger, his ring finger. So it's whatever it is, this gangrene, this sickness is spreading, but it's not just like going through his entire hand, it's just going through his fingers. So how did he lose the second finger? Did he cut himself again on the Iron Throne?
Interesting.
We don't know how he lost that second finger, we just know he lost it.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess like if we're going off of... Was that so? In the last one, was it the pinky finger that got cut on the?
Yeah, it was the pinky finger that got cut on the Iron Throne, and then that was the one that he had in the maggot bath.
Yeah,
and now he's lost two fingers.
I'd imagine. I mean, it's got to be the throne. I'm gonna assume it's the throne, but
yeah, I mean, we know he's got those weeping sores on his back as well. Somebody suggested it could be diabetes.
Interesting.
Without having regular insulin production, he could have lost the finger due to poor blood, but normally with diabetes, it's more like the toes.
Sure.
And the feet than the fingers.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it's just something I wanted to point out here. I mean, like I said, it's the coffee cup in the room.
Yeah. I think I guess I feel like to keep up with like the show, I feel like the throne would make a lot of sense. And they've already, I feel like, hinted at the throne kind of like causing, him to be like ill or his fingers to get cut. So like, I feel like if anything, there like that it's like just more foreshadowing of like maybe the throne is going to be the thing. So yeah.
So that's that. Here's the little spiky ball I was looking at. It looks like a mace, like one of those ball and chain maces. A morning star. That's the word I'm looking for. But it's like it's sitting there on the table, so I don't know what it is. Like, is it a sea mine? Is it supposed to represent something?
Right.
And then there's this weird thing in the back here that looks like coral, maybe? Is that supposed to be the crab feeder himself? I don't know. It looks like some weird little coral statue thing.
Maybe it's like both. I mean, maybe both of them are like home bases, I guess.
Yeah. That could be like where they're located.
Yeah, because they are the only two. I can't see any other ones that are like different.
Because you've got the crab feeder, you've got the crabs.
Yeah.
You've got the two dragon jawbones. You've got the little fish that represents Corlys's men. And then you've got this weird like tubular thing here, and then you've got the morning star ball. And so I have no idea what those are.
Weird.
Yeah, just something that I noticed. And now we're going to talk about Alicent's costuming. Alicent is wearing all red and all gold in this. which is appropriate since she's now a Targaryen queen, and red is one of their traditional ancestral colors. Black being the other one, and we usually see Viserys in black. But something that I've noticed is that in addition to the fact that she's wearing all red, their servants wear red, right? Red with gold over tunics. That's the color that all the nannies are wearing when they're taking care of little Aegon. It's the color that all the background servants are wearing. So I just find it kind of interesting that she's dressed all in red and gold as well.
Huh.
The kind of, perhaps it's signifying that she's become a servant to the crown in that she's, popping out babies, which is the job of a queen. She's got some beautiful details on this costume, though. I mean, you can see she's got that fur cloak on when they first arrive. That kind of reminds me of the fur cloak from Beauty and the Beast. So that's something that any girl, my age would probably want to have, just because it's a happy memory. But then she's got this beautiful crimson satin on with brocade sleeves in what we call a Boleyn cut, because they're very full. But they've got these really interesting clasps going up the sides here, and you can see that in that picture. And she's obviously extremely pregnant with their second child. Her hair's pulled back into a goldenette with little jewels adorning it. And she's got a little pretty necklace on. But it's the fact that she's dressed in the same color as the servants that stood out to me. Even though it's a finer dress, it's obviously much fancier since she is queen, and red is an official Targaryen color. Just the fact that they put her in that kind of just stood out to me, probably from a symbolic-ish era, but
sure.
That's all that I've got today for Dragons in the Details, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off.